Hello guys, in this knowledge module we'll talk about one of the most important concept of the finance, which is time value of money. In fact, it is so important that you will see its application in almost every calculation of finance. So let's go ahead and see what are our learning objectives. We'll try to understand that what is the meaning of time value of money, and what do we mean by the concept of time value of money. We'll try to understand the relationship of present value and future value. We'll also discuss about the interest rate and how we can use the interest rate to move the cash flow, or to find the value of the cash flow both in the forward and backward direction. When we talk about the interest rate, the interest rate have different words which we can use for it. For example, discount rate, rate of return, and many times they are actually interchangeably used in the same formula, and we'll look into it. We'll also discuss what is the difference between the compound and the simple interest. And I will conclude this knowledge module by talking about the annuities. So annuities are the repetition of the same magnitude of amount after same time periods. For example, when we pay the mortgages, and we want to we usually pay the same amount of money after a fixed interval of time. So this is a type of annuity. So the annuity has two characteristics, that the payment should be the same, and it has to happen after a same period of time, say after 1 month or after 6 months. If the first payment has gone after 6 months, then the second payment should also go after 6 months. And it's not about the payment only. Even if you are receiving the money, in that case it is also the annuity. And we'll talk about the annuities. There are two types of annuities in detail in next few slides. So first we talk about the simple concept, and then we will go to the concept of the annuity. So the key term is PV, present value, then future value, FV, interest or discount rate, or we also can call it the opportunity cost. This will be denoted by some books use I or small I, and some books use small r. So you need to be mindful of that I or R usually represent interest rate or discount rate. We'll also talk about the number of time periods, and SI is the simple interest, CI is the compound interest. Future value of the ordinary annuity, the annuity where the payments are happening at the end of a specific period. So if the annuity is monthly and you are paying $400 after every month, then because it's at the end of the period, it's ordinary annuity, because most of the time businesses engage in the ordinary annuity where they need to pay the equal amount of payment at the end of the particular time period. Time period can be anything. It can be 1 month, it can be 6 months, it can be a year. And the other one is the annuity due, where the payments are made at the start of or beginning of the period, rather at the end of the period. So if someone will give you two alternatives, that either get 10,000 today or get 10,000 after 5 years of 5 year period of time, which alternative you will opt? Most of you are right, will go with 10,000 today. And why so? Because the 10,000 you can put it to work. You can either invest it, and over the next 5 years it will grow to a certain value. So it might grow to say 10,050. It totally depends on what is the rate of return, or what is the interest rate bank is giving you, or if you are doing the investment in a particular into a particular investment vehicle, what rate of return that investment vehicle is offering you. So that's very sensible, that you want to get the cash flow as soon as possible. If they are same amount, obviously you want it today because you want to invest it and grow your the value of your money over the period of time, right? So people obviously prefer 10,000 today, and because it has the opportunity to earn the interest rate. If you do not go with the first alternative and will go with the 10,000 at the end of the 5-year period, obviously you are like losing the opportunity for having 10,000 and grow it to the 10,000, more than 10,000 after 5 years. And this is the reason why we do the saving and invest, because we want a bigger amount of value after a particular period of time in order to have a better consumption in the future years. Rather consuming the less amount today, we want more amount in the upcoming years, right? So it means that the time is the key element. So time basically help you grow the money through the investment process, and this will basically bring us to the concept of time value of money. So first of all, look over here. Say if you have $25,000 and you have invested at the 8%, so after 20 years, that $25,000 will grow to $116,523. After 25 years, it will grow to 171,000, and likewise you can see after 40 years it will grow to 543,000. And you can see that this increase is not linear. It's not simply doubling after 10 years. Like ideally after 40 years, this if it would double, if there is a linear increase, then after 40 years, what should be the value? 116,523 multiplied by 2. So roughly or approximately like 233,000 should be the value after 40 years. But it is 543,000 because the increase is exponential. The reason is that the interest earned or the return, the value which you have earned in a particular year, for the next year, your return or interest will be also applied on that value. For example, today you invested $100 and after a year it is $110. For the second year, now the principal amount is $110 rather the original $100. So in the second year, you will earn the interest of $11 with the same interest rate of 10%. So the interest has the opportunity to earn the interest for you for the upcoming period. So that is the reason why we can see that there is an exponential increase of the amount rather the linear increase. And in a few upcoming slides, this concept will be very clear to you. So again, there are three alternatives, and I'm starting with the basic concept of time value of money now. In the basic concept of time value of money should be the heading, rather simply the time value. So the first alternative is get $100 right now. After 1 year, $109, or after 2 years, $120. And you can opt only one alternative. You cannot go with more than one. So in that case, if you go with the absolute value, we can clearly see that the 120 many people wants to choose, because 120 is obviously more than 109 and 100. But we cannot compare or make a sound financial decision unless we do not find the cash value of all these three alternatives at single point in time. So what do I mean by this? I mean to say that in the future years values, so these 109 and 120, these are future payments. So this 109 future value after 1 year, and this 120 is the future value after 2 years. The cash flow right now is the present value, which is $100, and there is no interest added into it. In the future value, interest is added. So the only way we can compare three alternatives and find make the sound financial decision is if we will reevaluate or revalue the cash flows of the different investments which are involving different time periods. Like over here, there are 3 different time periods to calculate or revalue the cash flow at the same point in time. If we will do it, only in that case we'll be able to make the sound financial decisions, because this is unfair with the investment option 1, where there is no interest added, to compare it with the investment alternative 2 over here, 109, where there is some element of interest is already added over here. So either we will take away the interest of this second or third alternatives and find their present value today, or either we will grow this $100 into the future value and find out that what would be the future value of this $100 after 1 or 2 years. Assume over here we are living in a world which is offering us a 10%. There is a bank which is offering us a 10% interest rate, a guaranteed 10% interest rate. So this is the main assumption to begin with. And by historical standard, this 10% is very high, but that will help us to easily calculate the values. So it will make our maths very easy. So let's start. If you see over here, the $100 after 1 year will grow to $110. So what did I do? I simply multiplied 100 with 1 plus 10%. So multiplying it with 1 will give me my $100 back, and plus 10% will calculate the 10% interest on this $100. So which is 10. So 100 plus 10 will give us 110. So clearly, because at the same point in time now we have the cash values for the 2 investment alternatives, investment alternative 1 and investment alternative 2, and we can see that investment option number 1 is better than investment option number 2. 110 is more than 109. So that made things very clear that if it is a comparison between this one 100 today or 109 after 1 year, we should go with 110. But again, the assumption is we have a guaranteed 10% interest offered to us by a bank. Now grow it further to the second year. Now the value will be 121, because now this $10, which is the interest from the previous period, is making up the principal for the second year, right? So we started originally with the $100, and then $10 is the interest added during the first period. So for the start of the second year, or at the end of the first year, we have $110. Now grow it by 10%. So we will get over $110 back, plus we will get $11 as an interest for the second year. And why $11? Why not 10? Because now we have the interest on which the interest is earned in the next period. So in the first year we have only $100, but in the second year now we have $110 at which the 10% interest will be calculated. So 110 multiplied by 1 plus 10%. If you do the calculation, pause the video over here, you will get $121. And now things are very clear. Among these 3 investment alternatives, we will go with the third one, which means that go with the first one, which means that get the $100 today, invest at 10%, and after second year get $121. So this concept where we are reevaluating different cash flows, like the different alternatives which are involving different time periods, and to reevaluate the cash flow at the same point in time in order to make a sound financial decision, comes under the umbrella of the concept of time value of money. So there is a time involved, and time certainly have the effect on the values of the cash flows. And these concepts related to reevaluating the cash flows comes under the time value of money. Now, what is the compound interest? As I just mentioned, when your interest has the opportunity to earn the interest, that comes under the compound interest. So in the first year, we have $110, but in the second year, we have now $121. So in the first year, only $10 interest was earned, but in the second year, $11 interest is earned, because in the first year, we had only $100 as the principal amount on which the interest is earned. But in the second year, we have $110 as the principal amount. And in that $110, the $10 interest came from the first year. So when the interest has the opportunity to earn the interest for the investor, then this is the concept of the compound interest. Now, what if there are only simply 2 years involved? What if I'll ask you to calculate after, say, 20 years? Will you be making all these, like doing all this calculation for the third year, then grow it by for fourth year, for fifth year, for sixth year, all the way to the 20th year? It will be it's a very cumbersome activity. And instead of doing that, we have a general formula, which is the future value after n time period is equal to present value into 1 plus I, which is the interest rate. Some books use, instead of IR, raised to the power n. So if I will give you to find the value after 20 years, then the present value is simply the $100. 1 plus the interest rate is your interest, which is your 10%, raised to the power the time period, which is 20, and it will give you the future value, that what would be the value to which this present value of $100 will grow after 20 years. So this will give you the future value after n years. And in case of, because if I'll give you the 20 years, then this n will be 20. Let's do some calculation for the 4,000. If you are investing 4,000 at 8% interest rate, and that interest rate is locked for 10 years, to what value it will grow this present value of 4,000? In present value, you do not have any interest rate. You do not have any interest added. So to what value into the future after 10 years, the present value of 4,000 will grow to, if the guaranteed interest rate is 8%. So if you do the calculation, 4,000 into 1 plus the interest rate, 8% raised to the power n, number of time periods 10, this will 8,635.70. Now, the financial calculator, specifically you can use any calculator, HP calculator, but I usually use the Texas Instrument BA2 Plus calculator or the BA2 Professional calculator, and I have the software over here which I will use to show you the calculation on the calculator. So I'll turn on my calculator. Let me see if I can make the screen more bigger. I think this is the biggest I can get out of it. So let's start putting the values. So the people who do not want to use the formulas and can use the calculator, and I strongly recommend you to use the calculator, because when you are doing the CF exams or any other exams, and there are a lot more questions involved, then using the formulas consumes a lot of time, and on calculator you can find the answer right away. So what is n over here? N is actually the number of time period. I slash y is your interest for the period. In our example, the period is year, but remember, the period could be anything. It can be even 1 day, it can be 1 month, it can be 6 months, it can be 3 months of time period, but I have started with the examples of 1 year because this will do our calculation easier. So let's start with this. Your interest is 8%. Your present value is minus 4,000 for the purpose of calculator. Now, what is the concept of minus 4,000? Because you invest the money today, you are foregoing your today's consumption. So it is going out of your pocket, and you will be basically investing it in the bank, and you will not be able to use it, say, for the next 10 years, right? So in that case, this will go as a minus 4,000, the present value. There is no in-between payments involved, so you have zero payments. But at the end of the 10th year, you want to go and check, okay, what is the money in my saving account, which is giving me 8%, right? So that is your future value, the future value to which your present value will grow after 10 years. So let's start inputting the numbers. So you have, so go into the, so first of all, turn on the calculator, and then you will press 10 and go into N. So this is N, and 8% is your time interest rate, so it will go over here. Your present value is minus 4,000, it will go over here. Your payment is 0. Now compute future value, 8,635.70, which exactly I got by inputting these numbers in the formula. So this is how you can find the future value using the calculator, right? So let's move on and see that if I want to find now the present value, what is the concept of that? So if, let's suppose, there is someone will come to you and say, look, I have an investment option for you, in which you can get $120 after 2 years, and you will get 8% rate. So now you will, obviously, the question is how much you need to deposit today in order to get $120, where the $120 after 2 years, and in that $120 interest is added. This is the future value, right? This is the value of the cash flow which is you will get in the future, and in that $120, the interest which is added at 8%. So the question is very obvious over here, that what should be the present value of the cash flow which you need to deposit today, so that you end up getting $120 after 2 years at 8% interest. So in other words, we want to find the present value of this $120, right? So in that case, we have the same formula. We simply algebraically remanipulate it, and if you see that present value, this 1 plus I raised to the power n is getting multiplied, but we have to divide this on the both sides, so that we will be left alone with the present value on the right hand side. So the present value will turn into future value after n time period, divided by 1 plus the interest rate raised to the power n. And if you will plug these numbers, you will get 102.88. So can we do it on the calculator? Yes, we can again do it on the calculator. So I will go on the calculator, and let me open the calculator for you over here. It is taking some time. Let me pause. So now I have to clear the registers, because there are already some values fed into these buttons. So in fact, I'm just turning on and off. And now what is n over here? There are 2 time periods involved, right? These time periods are here over here. So 2n, right? What is the interest? 8%, right? What is the present value? Present value we have to find. We have to find that what we need to invest today in order to get the future value of $120. So $120 we'll get. So symbolically, if we'll get, then we will be having plus over here, and that is a future value. Is there any in-between payment involved? No. So there is no equal payments. So whenever there is equal payment, that goes actually over here. So 0 over here, right? And compute the present value. This is minus 102.88. So this is telling us today you have to forego $102.88 you invest today. At 8%, it will grow into a future value after 2 years to $120. $. So this is actually, in this case, when we are trying to find the present value, we are discounting the value, we are discounting the future value. Discounting means taking away the interest from these future values. Compounding means adding the interest. So in the previous slide, when we were trying to find what would be the value of the 4,000 after 10 years, we compounded the 4,000 after 10 years. So we found the future value. So whenever we have to find the future value, we are compounding the present value to the future value. We add the interest. And when we are trying to find the present value from the future value, we discount it. And discounting, always division is involved. If you see 120, 1 plus the interest at which we are discounting it, raised to the power 2, we are getting 102.88. So this over here, the interest rate is actually the discount rate as well. So that's why these names are changed, used interchangeably. Interest rate, discount rate, rate of return. If you see, this is also the rate of return. When this I in the previous case, when we wanted to find to which value into the future after 10 years 4,000 will grow, it's actually also the rate of return, right? But this interest rate, discount rate, and rate of return, they are used interchangeably, but the basic formula is the same where they will be used. Right now, pause the video over here and either use the formula which we have learned or the calculator, if you have the calculator, to do this question, and let me know that which investment alternative is better for you, 700 or today at if there is a guaranteed interest rate of 10%, or the in case of B, $935 after 3 years. So just pause the value the video over here and let me know. So now you might have the answer by this time. There is two ways we can calculate it. Either we compound the 700 and grow it to its future value after 3 years, and compare this first alternative's cash flow after 3 years with the second alternative after 3 years. Remember, you can only make the sound financial decisions if you will revalue the cash flows involving different time periods at the same point in time. In the first one, we have the cash flows right at the beginning, 700. In the second one, we have the cash flows after 3 years. So the only way is either compound it, add interest to this 700 in case of alternative A, and grow it to the future value after third time period, and then compare its answer with the alternative B cash flows, which is 935. Second, you can discount 935 3 periods back by dividing it 1 plus interest rate raised to the power 3, because there are there are 3 periods involved, right? And find and compare the discounted cash flow of the alternative B with the cash flow of the alternative A. So in both cases, let's start with the first one. The 700 will grow to 931.70. So it will grow by first one time period, second time period, and third time period. So 700 multiplied by 1 plus the interest, which is 10% raised to the power 3, because there are 3 time periods involved, it is 931.7. So which one is better? Obviously, the alternative B is better, because you are getting guaranteed 935 after 3 years versus 700, which you will get today, and you have the guaranteed interest rate of 10%, right? Now, in case of B, if we'll discount it back, we should come to the same conclusion. So let's discount it. And how you will discount it? You will divide 935 and take away the interest added in over the 3 time periods, 1, 2, and 3. So 1 plus the interest rate raised to the power the 3 time period, which is obviously 3 then, right? So this is 935, 1 plus the interest raised to the power 3. So 702.48. So the worth of this 935 to you today is $702.48. So which if two options have been given to you and you only have to take this either A or B, which is better for you. So based on the by applying the concept of time value of money, we understood that the B1 is better because the worth of 935, which you will get after 3 years, today is 702.48. So what in alternative A, you were just getting 700. So you will go with the B alternative, right? Now, what is one thing I wanted to make clear? So this is the timeline, and many times you might need to make the timeline. The way timeline is mentioned is this is 0 and this means right now, right? So usually this tells you the end of a particular period. So this 0 means that it's the end of the period 0. What is period 0? Means right now. This is end of the period 1. This 2 is end of the period 2. This is end of the period 3. Cash flows are written usually right below the time period, right? And interest rate is given between the time period. So again, the periods are written above this line over here. So for example, 2 is over here, end of the period 2, then end of the period 3. Cash flow is 700. Below 0, it means right now 700 will be given to you, and that 700 will convert into the future value of 931 after third time period, right? And over here 935 after third time period, at the end of the third time period. So this is the end of the time period, and cash flow will come right at the end. So if you want to say that at the end of the second time period $400 will come, then obviously 400 will be written over here, right? And interest rate are written normally on the top in between the 0 time period and the 1 time period. So this is the how you usually make the timeline for the cash flows. Now, what is simple interest? In case of compound interest, I told you earlier that interest has the opportunity to earn the interest. In case of simple interest, no, only the originally invested amount is calculated, is used to calculate the interest even of the subsequent time period. For example, if there is an investment alternative and you are depositing $100 right now, and its present value is $100, and that alternative is giving you the simple interest of 10%. It means that 10% for the first time period will be calculated on the original $100. So by the end of the future value will be $110 of this $100 of the present value of the $100, right? So 100 multiplied by 1 plus the 10%. For the second time period, now this 110 will not be used to calculate the interest. To calculate the interest, the same 100 present value of $100 will use, which you originally invested. So for the second time period, the interest is again 10. But that, what would be the value of your account at the end of the second time period? 120, because now you have 2 interest added into it, right? Which is the same interest, $10 for the first time period, which ended over here. Then second time period over here, this one, which ended over here, right? So you have 120. Likewise, $10 will keep getting added for the subsequent years. So its formula is very simple. Present value plus present value into the interest multiplied by the number of time periods. There are 12 time periods involved in this question. Then it's basically $120 of interest, because $10 is the same interest which you will get every period, and there are 12 periods. So 12 multiplied by 10 will give you 120 plus the original which you invested $100. So at the end of the 12th year, in this simple interest investment alternative, you will get 220. Over here, if you have a $1,000 deposit in the first year, 10th year, you will see that, and there are three different alternatives. One is investment alternative is giving you 10% simple interest. Second is the blue one, which is 7% compound interest. Third one is 10% compound interest. This 1,000 after 30th year will grow like this. And so it means that in 10% compound interest, you will be having amount somewhere between 15,000 and 20,000. In 7% compound interest, you will have amount somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000. And in the simple interest, you will have around, like, I think $4,000, 3,000 or 4,000, in between $3,000 and $4,000. Now, surprising thing is, on the face of it, the compound interest of 7% is less than the simple interest of 10%. So it means that the compound interest is very beneficial for the investor, that because you can see after the 30th year, the blue bar is much bigger compared to the yellow bar. Even you are getting 10% simple interest, but the 7% compound interest will end up giving you much more over the period of time. So this is the time value of money. So if the compound interest, one need to understand the importance that what he will be getting in the simple interest versus the compound interest. So compound interest, longer you will like invest in the compound interest, the subsequent benefits by which the cash flow will grow, or the subsequent rate by which the cash flow will grow will be higher, much higher in the compound interest compared to the simple interest. Even over here, we can see that on the face of it, the nominal, or like we can see that the compounded rate, compound interest of 7% is less than 10%, but $1,000 grew much exponentially in the case of compound interest, just because of the fact that interest has the opportunity to earn the interest. Now, what is annuity? First of all, there are two characteristics. I barely started with this. So we have one sort of cash payment we have seen, which is the lump sum, where you are investing right at the start and checking what is happening at the end. So these are the lump sum payments, 700, 931, likewise 935. There are no in-between payments, right? In annuity, there are in-between payments over the period of time, right? So if you invest something, say for 3 years, right? Maybe many insurance companies offer something like this. They actually ask you to invest for a very long period of time, but the concept is similar. The concept over here is, if someone comes to you and say, look, you should keep depositing 4,800, and again, I'm sticking over here with the time period of per year, because later on I'll change this and the frequency of the periods. Over here, let's suppose a person comes to you and say that in their deposit, keep depositing for 3 years. After every year, at the end of every year, you need to deposit 4,800, 4,800, and at the end of the third year, 4,800, and we are offering you 5% interest rate. So you want to see that in such investment alternative, what would be the value of your cash flows after third period, or after 3 years. Again, over here, the period can be anything, but in this example, up till, in fact, this slide, whatever examples we are covering, I'm considering period on annual basis, but obviously that will change in the subsequent lectures. So in that case, what is the basic concept? Basic concept is this 4,800 is at, there are 3 time periods. 0 to 1 means this is the first time period. This 1 means end of the first time period. This 2 means end of the second time period. This 3 means end of the third time period. And the first cash outflow is from your pocket is 4,800 over here. The second cash outflow is at the end of the second time period over here. And the third one is at the end of the third cash flow, 4,800 over here. Might be you will be thinking that if I will be getting the investment back at the end of the third period, why should I deposit the last one? But over here, just imagine you need to deposit the third one and then you will get the money back. So in that case, you are making the, if you see the pattern is you are doing the same payment at the end of every period, and the period is fixed 1 year. So this is the annuity. And which annuity it is? It is ordinary annuity. When the payment happened, you can receive, you can be at the receiving end as well, right? You can offer someone as well the interest or the investment alternative that he should deposit with you, and you meanwhile you will be using that maybe to do your business. Maybe you have taken the loan from someone, but so does not matter. It's a payment, or you are making the payment, or you are receiving the payment. But main point over here is it's the same amount at the end of every period. It can be at the beginning of the period as well, but we are starting with the end of the period. So 4,800 over here, 4,800 at the second period, 4,800 at the end of the third period. So 3 payments at the end of each period. So this is and there are fixed period, 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, right? It can be again 1 month, but for this example it's 1 year. So this is ordinary annuity, where the payment happens after equal interval of time, and this is the same payment that either you are receiving or making, but over here you are making in this example. So 4,800 has the opportunity to grow by 2 time periods, 1 and 2, right? So when it will grow by 2 time period, it will grow by 5%. So look over here, 4,800 multiplied by 1 plus the 5% interest raised to the power 2. The future value of the 4,800 after 2 years, when the interest will be added into it, will become 5,292. Now, some people might be saying that this payment is happening after 1 time period. So why it is a present value? When you will go after a year, that will be the present value at that particular time, right? Because that you will be making the first time period. So it has, even there are 3 time period involved. So that's why only growing it by 2 time periods, right? So this is present value at the end of the first time period. When after a year, when you will go, it will be a present value at that time, multiplied by 1 plus the interest raised to the power 2. So it will grow to 5,292. Now, after second year, when you will make the 4,800, that will be the present value, right, after 2 years. At that point in time, when you, let's suppose you have a time machine, you go to the second year, and then you, at the end of the second year, so you made now 4,800 payment. Now this has the opportunity only to grow by 1 time period, right? So 1 plus 0.05 raised to the power 1. And is there any opportunity for the third payment to grow by? No. As soon as you made this last payment, right, the person who has offered you the investment will give you the lump sum amount now back. And what is that amount, right? Simply because it did not have the opportunity to grow. So that 4,800 plus 5,040, which is the future value of this of the payment you made at the end of the second period, and plus the future value at the end of the third time, at the end of this third time period, which has the opportunity to grow only by 2 time period, because you did not why didn't it grow by third time period? Because you made this first payment at the end of this first time period. You did not made right over here, right, at the end of the 0 time period. So 4,800 into 1 plus the interest rate raised to the power 2, 5,292. So add all these 3 up, which I have done over here, right? You can see this thing. So it is 15,132, and this is your the ordinary annuity. And again, remember always, in case of annuities, there will be same payment which will be happen, like in this case 4,800, and there will be a fixed interval after which the payment will be made. So after, like in this case, after every year, the payment, after the fixed interval, the payment is getting made. And this is the ordinary annuity because the payments are happening at the end of the time period. So we call them the ordinary annuity, and we say it ordinary because most of the such sort of transactions happen between the businesses. So how you do it on the calculator, that is also important. First of all, before going to the calculator, we have a generic formula. What about if you have 30 years, or like insurance companies, lock people in for the 20 years of time payments. So if there is 20 periods involved, will you be doing the calculation for each and every cash flow? Again, it will be very much time consuming. So what there is a generic formula, PMT. PMT stands for the equal payments, which happens at the equal interval of time, same payments. In this case, we had 4,800, like over here, plus into 1 plus interest rate raised to the power n minus 1 divided by the interest I. And if you plug in the number, remember what was the interest? 5%. So instead of I, we put 5%. In decimal, 5% is 0.05. So you, whatever is in percentage, you divide that with 100. And n is your 3 time period. So if you calculate it, you will get the same 15,131. You can double check this number. And from where this formula came. So this formula is out of the scope of this knowledge module. But if you want to see that from where this formula came, go and look at this following link, where the formula, the ordinary annuity, in order to compute the future value of the ordinary annuity formula, it is derived on it has derived on this. So you can see the derivation on this link. Now, in case of calculator, I'm going to the calculator back. Let me check. Yes. So I'm turning off and on again. And what is n over here? We know that is 3 time periods. First of all, because the annuity is ordinary annuity where the payments are happening at the end of the period. So always check the payment over here. Remember, for the equal payments, PMT button will be used. So second payment, right? It's end. So it means it's fine. If I have to change it to the beginning, where the payment will be happening in the beginning, I have to put it second, enter. It will change the beginning. But again, the question is regarding the ordinary annuity where the payment happened at the end. So I'll go back to the end payments, right? Now start doing it again. What is n? N is my 3. And what is my interest? Interest is my 5. What is my present value? So for that purpose, you need to go back to the previous timeline. Over here, there was no present value. Though for the purpose of calculation over here, we are using 4,800 as a present value, but for the calculator purpose, it is actually the equal payment, same payments, right? It's not a present value. So for the calculator purpose, what is the present value over here? Right? There is 0 present value. You are so when the investment, the person whosoever offered you the investment, this investment alternative, told you to deposit 4,800 at the end of every year. He did not say, mention that you need to pay it right now. And again, we are just making this example to explain you the concept, right? I'm just making it up. So he did not say, okay, give me the payment right now. He said that keep making the payment after the end of every year. And so after third year, we'll give you some amount back at 5%, right? So this was the original scenario. And if you see over here, the present value is 0, right? So this I will go and feed it in my calculator. So again, so 3 is the n, 5% is my interest, present value is 0, equal payments are 4,800. Now over here I simply wrote the plus 4,800. When there is no sign, obviously it's plus, right? But for the purpose of calculator, you need to go with the concept. The concept is, if you are investing it today, right, then you will be basically foregoing your 4,800. You will not be able to consume it, and it will be sitting in your account, right? So that will go minus 4,800 over here, right? And now you need to compute the future value. Compute CPT. Can you see that? I got the same 15,132. And also, if your payment is minus, your future value always will be positive. So logically, if you are foregoing the consumption, you're not able to use your cash flow, when in future the lump sum payment will come at, which is $15,132 in this case, you will be able to now use that money, right? So this money is already like you will get at the end of the third period. So this is the example of the ordinary annuity using the calculator. Now, what about the ordinary annuity due? In annuity due, everything is the same except that the payment is now happening at the beginning of every period rather at the end of every period, right? So in case of annuity due, I am using FVA brackets due, then after the third time period. So every scenario is the same. Like, so this, what is this? Now, just by looking at the cash flow timeline, you can see that it's ordinary annuity. It's not annuity due. Why? Pause the video and answer yourself. Because the payment is happening at the end of the first time period, at the end of the second time period, at the end of the third time period, right? Now, in case of annuity due, we have to shift these payments back. 4,800 over here, 4,800 over here, 4,800 over here. So what is logically happening? Every cash flow now has the opportunity to grow by one more time period. So this cash flow over here earlier just grew by 2 time period in case of ordinary annuity. In case of annuity due, it will grow by 3 time period. Likewise, this blue cash flow at the end of the second time period only grew by 1 time period in case of ordinary annuity. In case of annuity due, it will grow by 2 time period, right? This one for the second time period and for the third year as well, right? Now, the green cash flow over here, which you made in case of ordinary annuity, it did not have the opportunity to grow. But in case of annuity due, it will grow by 1 time period. So every cash flow is growing by 1 time period. So one way is simply find the same annuity, ordinary annuity final value, which we earlier got, and multiply it with 1 plus interest rate. So the overall money will grow by 1 time period, right? And or otherwise, this is the way as well. So you can see it grow the first time period, and this first cash flow in case of the annuity due grew by 3 time period. The second grew by 2 time period. The third grew by 1 time period. Now add them all, you will get this answer over here, right? Now with the formula, we will use the same formula up till this for the annuity due, which we use for the ordinary annuity, this one, plus multiply it with 1 plus interest rate, because each cash flow has the opportunity to grow by 1 time period, more time period. So we, by multiplying it with 1 plus the interest rate, we are bringing in that component in the future value of annuity due formula, and will grow to 15,888.6. So again, it is more than the final lump sum payment in case of the annuity due is more than the ordinary annuity, because in case of the annuity due, the cash flows has opportunity to grow. Each cash flow has the opportunity to grow by 1 more time period, right? So it's very logical that 1 more interest rate has added to each of the cash flows, right? Now, how to do it on the calculator? The only thing we have to do is change the mode, payment mode. So instead of ending mode, which is usually by default in the calculator, we have to change it to the beginning mode and then find the present value. Future value. So let's go back to the calculator, right? Usually I always clear my registers, but usually this is for the cash flows, and cash flow, there is a different concept of the cash flows, which I'll explain later. But now if I want to check, I again have to go and check the payment mode. So second, I will go into the payment. It is by default set at the end. So this is by default doing the calculation for the ordinary annuity. I have to change it to the annuity due. Second, enter. So I change it to the beginning annuity. Right now, once it is changed, I turned it off and on again. Second, just double checking it now. Yes, second and payment is set to the beginning. So now if I will go into the N, so my 3 is N over here. What is my interest? Interest was 5%, same. What is my present value? There is no present value. Again, some student might get confused over here. Right. So students might think that, okay, there is 4,800 over here. It is my present value, right? It seems like it's present value, but when you are feeding in the calculator, this same amounts is it will be considered under the payment, PMT button. So once we will press 4,800 and give it to payment, and also we feed this 4,800 as a present value, in that case, it will be double counted. So now if there is a changing scenario where a person has mentioned that you have to make 4,800 over here, then 4,800 at the start of every period, plus you have to give me extra 4,800 one time over here, then you can include that as a present value. But when you are giving the same amount after which is the annuity amount, after fixed interval of time, that will not come as a present value when you are doing the calculation in the calculator. So let's go over here back and check. So 5% was the interest rate. What is the present value? Present value is 0, even though it seems that you have given right today some value. So 0 is your present value. What is your equal amounts which you are paying, same amount which you are paying after equal interval of time? That is 4,800. So that is considered as a payment, right? So whenever usually you have same amount of money going after equal interval of time, that is actually an annuity, or we can also call it as a payment for the purpose of calculation in calculator, right? So 4,800, right? And you are foregoing, you are paying it. So minus, it will come as a payment. And I need to check present value. It was 0. I simply, if you have already included, then keep it like this. But I forgot whether I put already pressed in 0 for the present value or not. Now compute future value. This is 15,888 and 60 cents. Can you see that? So it is actually the lump sum payment future value of annuity due after 3 years. If that annuity asks you to deposit 4,800, obviously at the start of every period, and give you the opportunity to earn the interest at 5%. This interest we also call the opportunity cost. Means if you do not deposit it, you will basically lose the opportunity of having it grow by 5%. So this is your opportunity cost. And now this we have already done and finally got the answer. Now there is a third sort of a payment. So one is lump sum payment, one is annuity, where is the fixed payments or happening after a fixed interval of time, and third is simply cash flows. And cash flows can be uneven. For example, over here, if someone will ask you that what would be the, if I will, like you have a bank account and the bank is offering you a guaranteed 5% interest for the next 3 years, and you are thinking, let's start saving some money. So at the end of the first year, you deposited 400. After the end of the second year, you deposited 300. And as soon as you went to the teller and deposited the last 250, and now you are asking for the balance of the bank account, assuming you did not have anything in that bank account before these cash flows. So now you want to know that what is the balance of your account. So what would be that balance? So this can happen, this can be calculated by finding the interest of this 400 over the 2 time period. So 400 multiplied by 1 plus the interest rate, which is 5%, because the bank is offering you, or that account is offering you guaranteed 5%, raised to the power 2. Why 2? Because even you can see on the face of it that there are 3 time periods, but it will grow only by 2 time periods, right? So you'll get 441, then 300, it will grow by 1 time period, which is 315, and the third will not grow at all, because as soon as you deposit it, you are asking the balance, so it will not grow, and it is 250. Now you add all of them, you get $1,006, right? Now there is no generic formula for this. Now let's suppose if you have 10 years of payment, what you will do? You have to do it manually like this, or otherwise you can also use the calculator. So in the calculator, you will go into the second cash flow, second clear. Always, you always have to clear, because the amounts which we are plugging in, that will remain there from the previous question. So what is the first cash flow over here? The first cash flow is 0, which is right now. So CF0, the cash flow right now is 0. So you will go enter to the next one. What is the cash flow at the end of the first time period? Or in fact, the first cash flow in this case, that is 400 minus, because again you are depositing, enter. And how many times this 400 repeated? Only 1 time. If there is 2 400, right, so then you have to put the 2 frequency. But because these are different, right, you will not be using. One thing I need to clear again. Why, when there was the same payments, I was using these buttons, right? Because it was having the same payment. If the cash flows are uneven like this, then you cannot use this button, and you have to go to the cash flows, right? Now enter. So 1 frequency, the cash flow, this cash flow will go into C02 register, 300 minus, enter. And what is the frequency? Only it repeated 1 time, right? And then enter, go over here for the next one, C03, it is 250 minus, enter, right? So 1 cash flow. Now what is my what lump sum future value? All these uneven cash flow will grow if the bank is giving me 5%, means what teller will tell you after you will deposit 250. So you will go into this NPV button, and first is the interest rate. You need to feed in the 5% interest, right? And you might have NPV or the NFV. NPV is net present value, and NFV is net future value. If I'll compute, I'll get right away $1,006. I think it is giving me minus because I already entered in minus, right? So for this cash flows, uneven cash flows, right, it is not considering that whether the amount has gone with me or something. Over here we need to consider that, but over in the cash flows it is not considering that. So 106, just ignore this one, this minus, you will get $1,006 as the net future value, right? Some people might not have this button. For example, if they have a basic calculator and they only have this I and this NPV. If this NPV, you simply calculate this 8,609.02 and then grow it by 3 time period. What do you mean by grow it by 3 time period? Means you have to multiply it this by 1 plus, so ignore minus, multiply this 69.02 with 1 plus interest, which is the 5%, raised to the power 3. Why NPV? Because all this value, they will try to find the present value of these cash flows with NPV. NPV will give you the present value over here of these 3 cash flows, right? And if you want to, your main aim was to find what is the value of the end of the third time period, you have to grow it by 3 time periods. So guys, this is what I have also mentioned over here, like how I have done the calculation in the calculator. I'm quickly going to wrap it up. We have seen that the time has the effect on the cash flows coming from the different time periods. So there are different, if there are different investment alternatives, and you need to find that which is most beneficial to you. The only way is to readjust their cash using the discount rate or interest rate or the opportunity cost at the same point in time, and then compare them. Where you will be getting more, obviously that is the most beneficial cash flow for you. Then we also have seen what is the relationship between the present value and future value. We have also seen that how the 4,000 will grow to 8,635 lump sum payment after 10 years. We discussed about the simple interest and compound interest. We also understood the concept of the fixed payments, which is the annuity payments, ordinary annuity payments, and the annuity due payments. Now, I want you to Google one very interesting example related to it. If you type in Bobby Bonilla's long-term contract with the Met, New York Met, the baseball team, you will find that how interesting time value of money concept can play its part when it comes to the practical situations. So this is now your task, just to become curious about this concept and Google it. This is all from my side now. And if you have any comments, you can type in, or if you have email, you can also ask me the question. Thank you.